I am Anatoliana Chalisova, and this is Patriots Must Rise. This week, we've got some good news. It is time to celebrate, and I mean that wholeheartedly. O.J. Simpson is dead. That's one less Democrat to worry about. All right. So, I kind of want to give you a refresher about that case. It was nobody doubted that O.J. Simpson committed the murder of his wife and her lover. Absolutely none. Nobody doubted it. But there was a scumbucket lawyer that he was employing that knew flat out that he could manipulate the jury that was not the peers of O.J. Simpson. And I'll get into that later. By having O.J. Simpson put the glove that was in evidence on his hand, he knew that that the leather would shrink the time that it's been off of his hand and in evidence. And he also knew that the bulk of the jury would not be able to process what this actually meant. All right? Susie pointed out to me that the Italian leather would stretch back to its form once he put it on his hand. But apparently he was taking so much time trying to manipulate it to get it on his hand that he put this bad jury choice at odds, where they actually believed that it couldn't have been him because the glove that was found at the crime scene, at the crime scene, did not fit him. It's spring. I've got allergies. Anyway, there are several things wrong with the whole case. Several things. A good defense attorney, and he had a brilliant defense attorney, could have argued very simply that the glove had nothing to do with the crime scene. It was just there. There was nothing linking the glove to the crime scene except for locality. It hadn't been weathered. But we don't really know that because you have about a week of moderate California summer weather. And there's no blood on the glove from either victim. So literally, it's an artifact that is completely circumstantial. It has absolutely nothing to do with the crime scene on its surface. So why was it the point that OJ's defense lawyer could actually use to why was it the point that OJ's defense lawyer could use to actually say the famous line, "If it doesn't fit, you must acquit"? That's a question that everybody that had followed the case and paid attention to the corruption of Los Angeles in general had been asking for the last 20 years. At this point, it really doesn't matter because the subject of this argument is now burning in hell and will forever. Praise God for that. But for the judge to actually let a glove to be admitted into evidence that had no physical ties to the crime scene itself says that the judge needs to be looked at, possibly disbarred. But this was 20 years ago. It's also Los Angeles. There's never been anything out of California that has ever done any good for America. With the exception of maybe Ronald Reagan, but he made some major mistakes too. Namely NAFTA. I just wanted to point some of this stuff out. Okay. Next one. Joy Reid and the left apparently seem to think that it's a good move to be saying that when conservatives are talking about DEI hires, a term that we don't even use, we use diversity hires. She's saying we're talking about black people. So why not just say that we hate black people? Okay, in response to Joy Reid and all these leftist hacks, who, by the way, Joy Reid is a diversity hire. And the evidence of this is the fact that she's completely inept. She has no qualifications for her job. um, her ratings are shit. And she really cannot hold viewership other than maybe the occasional tweet. So, in response to this, no. When we're talking about diversity hires, we are not talking about black people. We are talking about the human resource department being forced by law to check some boxes by hiring people because of their skin color and not their qualifications. If Joy Reid was actually a reporter, I wouldn't be calling her a diversity hire. But she's not a reporter. She's an activist. Therefore, she is definitely a diversity hire. Kamala Harris. This is a woman who is definitely a diversity hire. Yes, one of the highest offices of our country. And it is a major disgrace to our country that she is in that office. But it is not because of her skin color. It is because even her own party kicked her out of the running. They rejected her in 2020, in 2019. But the old fossil in the White House, who was installed, pulled her out of the garbage. And by the way, he's a diversity hire too. Because we already know that he's very inept. Barack Obama himself said, never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to fuck things up. And his age makes him a liability. But it's a checked box according to the left's HR department. So, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Joy Reid, all diversity hires. Now let's go to the swampy garbage on the left. Mainly the, what do we call themselves? AOC and her cohorts. AOC is a bartender. She's a terrible congressman, and I'm not going to say congresswoman because congressman is the title. It has no reference to gender. So people in the chat don't even bother. If you're worried about gender in a professional setting, you probably should be fired already. She was a bartender. Admittedly, No qualifications. Okay? She was elected because basically the guys in New York happen to like the way she looks. And they voted for her for that reason. No other. The women of New York might have voted for her because they're feminists. But basically, she got voted in for the sole purpose, for the sole reason that she is a woman. Not because she's qualified, not because she has anything to bring to the table. She is just a bartender. And she deserves to probably go back to the bar. The rest of her brat pack, whiny douchebag tampons, more of the same. So, in response, Joy Reid, we have absolutely no contempt for black people. We have absolute contempt for incompetence, in a workplace, in any case. So maybe you should resign. Because the only way people actually watch anything that you have to say nowadays is when it gets retweeted by somebody on X, basically to make fun of you. MSNBC knows it. So you might want to keep that in mind, because I have a feeling your days are numbered. Then you have the diversity hires on The View. You know, the stale, overused tampons that constantly whine about conservatives that are making really bad arguments about things that they don't understand. Where they, I believe, combined, they might have an IQ of maybe 6. This is not to ridicule women. This is to ridicule activists that claim to be journalists, that have a viewership of only overaged Karens that have nothing better to do than watch daytime television. This show has been on for way too long. Nobody watches it except to make fun of it. And that, honestly, I'm beginning to think that this is actually their strategy. They are making some of the dumbest remarks possible just so they can be retweeted and mocked for the ratings that they need to stay in business. Because they know nobody takes them seriously. They have to know that. I mean, I've read the comments on some of their pages, and oh my God, how could you continue going on this show knowing how hated you are by the country? I have not seen, I've read through probably 600 of these things just last night. 200 or 300 the night before. And the comments are all negative against them. Completely negative against them. There are still a couple hardcore leftists that will defend them. But basically, their show is going out. They know it's going out. They're hoping to gain traction with some kind of viral hit with a statement that they made, contributing to the leftist narrative. But in many cases, the comments that they're making aren't even according to the leftist narrative. I mean, the most recent one that I can think of, a solar eclipse. Estacadas and something else all happening on one day have to be linked to climate change. There is entire encyclopedias as to why I can rebuke that scientifically, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But it would start a conversation, and that is what they're trying for. So don't play the game. Don't make comments on Joy Reid's posts. Don't make comments on anything MSNBC or ABC has to say. Do not acknowledge that they're saying anything, because eventually they will dry up. Do not click on any of their feeds, and eventually they will dry up. Anyway, that's what I have for today. It's been an interesting one. So, until next time, live free, die well, and love your neighbor as Christ loved you.